Hello fellow Star Trek Fleet Commanders, this is 𝗂𝗵𝘁𝗵 from BHD8 Gaming. Not too long ago we put up a poll on our community tab asking which ships you'd like us to spotlight on the channel. The 𝗂𝗵𝘁𝘁 was the clear winner for that poll, but in this video we will be focusing on the runner-up. Which ship is it? Well, to give you a hint, there is no ship better when it comes to busting up swarm clusters. Let's do it. That's right, in this video we will be spotlighting the Franklin and the Franklin A. Much like in the first video in the series covering the 𝗂𝗵𝘁𝘁, we will go over the sourcing, how to build the ship, how to crew it, and whether or not we think it's worth it. Spoiler alert. So to source the Franklin, we're going to focus in on the little Franklin, not the Franklin A right now. You will need a level 17 shipyard and 90 blueprints to get started on the build. You can frequently find those blueprints for sale for real money in the shop. The usual going rate for those is $20 for 45 of the blueprints, so it will take you $40 to go ahead and pick them all up. That's US dollar currency, by the way. You can also get them from event stores at the end of ARC or holidays when those roll around, but most players will source these through the Cosmic Cleanup store, netting 9 a week when that is running. The Cosmic Cleanup traditionally runs every Saturday while there's an active battle pass going on, but as of late we have been getting them every single weekend, and hopefully that continues indefinitely. That has not been updated in the official communications in-game, which is why we are saying every Saturday during the battle pass. However, expect it to run every Saturday going forward. Thank you to whoever made that happen. Now, as myself and many other players have done, you will probably mix and match any of these sourcing options to your preferred comfort level. For myself, I went ahead and got half of the blueprints from the Cosmic Cleanup store over 5 weeks, and then I spent $20 US to go ahead and get the other half so I could get started on the ship a lot sooner. Shifting gears really quickly to the Franklin A, you'll need a shipyard of level 35 and 200 blueprints to get it this time around. The cost is much greater in the store, as it is $100 US to get all of the blueprints at once to unlock it. You can also pick it up possibly from event stores just like the Franklin at the end of ARC and the major holidays. However, there is no Cosmic Cleanup sourcing option for the Franklin A. Technically speaking, that is because most players will opt to scrap a max tier, which is tier 9, level 41 or higher Franklin to get all of the advanced Franklin data cores that you need to exchange on your resources tab in the refinery. At least that's where it currently is, to go ahead and pick up all those blueprints. That may change down the road, so if you're having trouble finding it, follow the link down below in the description to join our Discord server, and don't be afraid to ask around. There are many helpful players on the Discord server that would be happy to point you in the right direction. When it comes to upgrading these ships, it is slowed tremendously by the need for the frequency modulators for the Franklin and frequency modulators Mark II for the Franklin A. Those do drop from your swarm cluster enemies level 35 and below for the normal frequency modulators. Level 37 and above is where the Mark IIs start to happen. You can find those swarm clusters in these strange systems scattered across the map that are in these light pink and sometimes blue thunderstorms like this. This is what you're looking for. The best place to source those frequency modulators, however, the most reliable place to do so, is through your daily swarm missions. It is much better than just going out to try to grind those. There will be stages in the game, especially if you have pushed your operations level very quickly, or if you have had a late start on the Franklin or been neglecting it. Don't do that, where you will have to go out and grind for a heavy amount of these to get your Franklin back in line with where it ought to be. Some people will encourage you to just go OPC hunt other players to pick up these modulators. And yes, that is an option. Sometimes your rules of engagement on a server may or may not allow that, so you probably want to check that first. However, on this channel, I'm going to go ahead and say, kind of contrary to what I often spout, where I'm a very huge proponent for PvP in general, not to be a jerk and go hit other people that are just out there trying to get those modulators. In most instances, especially on more mature servers, if you need modulators, many people can resonate with how big of a pain that is to grind out. Just ask them for some help. If you're on server 63, reach out to me specifically, and we'll do what we can to get you loaded up so you can get your Franklin in line with where it ought to be. If you're not on server 63, then get out in your Galaxy chat, go ask somebody who's in another alliance if they will help you out. Many people will help you do so. That grind is not fun at all, especially if you are coupling it with the grind for Borg probes if you're working on your Vidar. That's enough to make many players consider just quitting the game outright. So please don't be afraid to ask for help instead of being a jerk and trying to go take from other people who are in the same boat as you. But to try to prevent that from happening, don't push your operations level past your ability to do your swarm dailies is the best advice that we can offer you on this channel. Ideally, you will complete all of your swarm daily missions on one hull in the highest system that is required for you to do those without having to warp anywhere else. If you do have to warp down to lower level systems to finish that out, that is not that big of a deal. However, if you're still doing it on one hull, we highly recommend you don't consider upgrading your operations level until you have kept up with your swarm dailies in that capacity. One other thing to mention while we're talking about upgrading the Franklin and Franklin 8 is that very frequently you will find yourself what's called warp locked. These happen in every other odd operations level, where you will ops up and you'll get another of these unique pieces used to upgrade your warp engines for your Franklin and Franklin A. Once you are able to cap out for your dailies, if that warp engine is the last thing that you need to get up there, then you can go check out your missions, check your archive if it's not readily available in your missions to figure out what operations level you should push to go ahead and level up that Franklin A again. Before we jump into crewing, which we will do here in a moment, we'll give some suggestions on that. That's what you should consider them as, is simply suggestions, because your mileage will vary tremendously depending on your officer ranks, your research, and your building levels. Check the comments down below because it is very likely we will have a huge discussion on crews after this video is completed down there, so don't be afraid to check that out and weigh in as necessary. The Star Trek Fleet Command Officer tool, the Preset Crews tab specifically, will be updated about every month or so, so if the meta changes significantly on which crews you should be using, you definitely want to stay on top of that tool and check that out frequently. At the earliest stages of your swarm experiences for Star Trek Fleet Command, you will very likely be using either the Cadet or the TNG hostile crews. That is with or without Talon, depending on what her rank is. Talon is extremely important. She's a common officer for those who aren't aware. You want to get her to tier 5 as quickly as possible, really, when you're playing the game. Even going so far as to spend your Latinum, if you didn't know you could do so, in the Officer Recruit tab, you can go ahead and spend 400 Latinum to do one of the big pools for your standard recruits. You'll want to keep doing that at least until you max out Talon, and a lot of us will recommend that you keep pushing even further beyond maxing Talon until you're able to max Chin as well. Both are extremely important for your hostile crews. The sooner you get them to tier 5, the better. Your Cadet hostile crew is going to put Cadet Uhura in the captain's chair, Cadet Kirk as an officer on the bridge, and then your third slot's either going to be Talon, depending on her rank, or Cadet McCoy to go ahead and further boost up the synergy of that team. For your TNG crew, you're instead going to put Next Gen LaForge in the captain's chair with Next Gen Data as an officer on the bridge, and then same thing, either Talon or Next Gen Crusher to round out your crew. Once you are able to swap out those Cadet and the TNG hostile crews with one of the more advanced crews that involves 𝗂𝗵𝘁 and then Talon, or 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵 and Talon once you have them unlocked. This is really going to take off once 𝗵𝘁 hits tier 3. Beverly around tier 2 or 3 is when you're going to get a lot more use out of those. It is drastically better than your Cadet crews once you unlock them. We do want to briefly touch on the fact that now we have 𝗂𝗲, the female Ferengi rare officer that was released as part of the Rules of Acquisition arc not too terribly long ago. She is in the game now, and she starts to beat a tier 5 Talon once she is at tier 4 or higher. So she becomes a little easier to source a little later on down the road when you're watching this video. You'll definitely want to compare what you're getting out of Talon versus 𝗂𝗲 on these crews. Now, in a pinch, if you're already using your primary interceptor crew that involves Talon somewhere else, once you have your 5 of 11 at rank 2, your Kang at rank 4, you can put 5 of 11 in the captain's chair, 7 of 11 as an officer on the bridge, and Kang on the bridge in a pinch. This is not the best crew at all, but it will let you hit those swarms if you're already using your interceptor hostile crew somewhere else. Now, you can't talk about swarm crews without bringing up Jaylah. I will state for the record, I have not yet unlocked Jaylah in the game, so I am going to rely heavily on higher operations level players I have spoken with, including some VIP players, for these crewing suggestions going forward. Many of those players will recommend swapping out Jaylah for Talon as your standard hostile crew for swarms as soon as you're able to do so. Some others will tell you that you probably don't want to do that until Jaylah is rank 2, so you'll probably want to swap her in and out and test that every now and again. Maybe it'll work for you at rank 1, maybe it won't, so just check that out once you have her unlocked. As of the Strange New Worlds arc, however, we do have a new crew on the scene. If you are lucky enough to obtain Strange New Worlds Pike and Strange New Worlds Spock, you want to try them together, Pike as captain, of course, with Talon and or 𝗂𝗲, and see how that does for you as well. I have heard great reports of that. I am still not lucky enough to have unlocked Strange New Worlds Pike at this stage in the game, but I am taking other people's words for it, and the data seems to very heavily lean towards this being one of the most optimal crews out there at this time. As a real quick update, since I did originally record this video, I have been able to get my hands on that new Strange New Worlds Pyke. I have tested that crew. Instead of the 22 kills I was able to get with my 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵 Talon, I was able to get about 24 kills with Strange New Worlds Pyke, Strange New Worlds Spock, and Talon. However, once I switched out Talon for 𝗂𝗁, I was able to get about 50% more than I was getting before of my kills on those swarms. So I was able to get about 33 before I left. The big difference is that you have to wait for that shield to recharge. You're taking a lot more damage to that shield each time. So I did have to wait a little longer before I was able to engage the next hostile. I was out there for a lot longer since I was killing more hostiles. So keep that in mind if you want to switch to that crew. It is very worth picking up Strange New Worlds Spock, Pyke, and 𝗂𝗁 if you're able to do so for swarms specifically. To attempt to discuss your extremely high-level swarm cluster crews would be overreaching my expertise in the game, so I have reached out to the VIP player community that I am plugged into, as well as the higher operations players for these final crewing suggestions. I know a lot of higher ops players do pop in on this channel and continue the discussion down below, so I wanted to help take care of them as well. And the wisdom out there right now is that you'll want to use 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵𝘁, Jaylah, and 𝘂𝗀𝗶𝘁𝗵 as your hostile crew once you get further on down the road towards the end of your swarm cluster career. And once you're able to hit those swarms at your level without drastically reducing your shield, if you can swap them out safely to do so, then you'll want to switch Jaylah to the captain's chair over 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵𝘁, as you will net more of your loot by doing so. One other thing I did want to mention, because we do frequently have what is currently called the heavy hitter SLB roll around, but there are other great crit focused SMSs and SLBs, so I did ask these players as well what their heavy hitter crews are. So if you're looking to do as much critical damage as possible against swarm clusters, the crews that I have got from the VIP operations level community are Data as your captain, Picard and Khan, Picard as your captain with Beverly and Jaylah, or 𝗂𝗄𝗏 as your captain with Khan and Strange New Worlds Spock. You can thank 𝘂𝗀𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗂, 𝗂𝗏𝘁𝗵𝗁, and 𝘂𝗀𝗏, all VIP players from Server 63, for those crewing suggestions if you found them to be very helpful for you. Further elaborating on whether or not we feel like it's worth it. Honestly, there is no good substitution in the game for a Franklin and Franklin A. Sure, you can limp by with an Explorer or another warship if you just really like high repair bills, but there is nothing that has a better kill per hull ratio than your Franklin A in the game. They get to leverage that research in the Starship's tree. Your Franklin A, once you get it unlocked, will actually earn you 3 points per kill instead of 1 point per kill on your daily swarm cluster missions as well, which makes that much easier to do. So we highly recommend getting these ships a priority at any stage of the game and keeping them towards the top level of where you can build them. You can check out our Franklin and Franklin A for $40 videos up here in the right hand corner if you'd like to know the optimal way to go ahead and pick up both of those ships, although it's not necessarily quick. We even go so far as to recommend spending real life money if you're comfortable doing so to go ahead and get a head start on these ships. If you choose instead or as well to spend money in support of this channel, we thank you very much for that. The links to our PayPal and Patreon are down below in the description as well. The free ways to support this channel are to like, comment down below. It helps the engagement tremendously on the video, gets it in front of more Star Trek fleet commanders. If you don't skip the ads when they come up, that helps us tremendously as well. You wouldn't believe how much that helps. If you subscribe, if you've not done so already, we are getting a lot closer to our 1701 subscriber milestone for the channel. Also, sharing this video with your friends and alliance mates within the game, and even your real life friends and coworkers, because this game is pretty fun. If you're still playing it, then you probably condone it to some level, and a lot of the people I speak with are actually finding new levels of enjoyment with every update that is being put out. So go out and evangelize, help bring even more players to this awesome game and awesome community. Don't forget, we've recently launched our YouTube live streams. Those happen on Fridays starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. They usually run anywhere from midnight Eastern until 1 or 2 p.m. is when the after party usually winds down. I might check out before then, but the community will still be rocking. So come check those out as well. Once again, huge thanks to 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗁's Star Trek Fleet Command Officer tool for the crewing suggestions, really for almost everything in the game. To 𝘂𝗀𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗂, 𝗂𝗏𝗁, and 𝘂𝗀𝗏 for providing those higher operations VIP level player crewing suggestions as well. Last but certainly not least, thank you to Domino for supporting the channel at the legendary Jarl level on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel, but we definitely want to draw special attention to those donating on Patreon or through the YouTube join feature at that high of a level. Thank you to all of you who have pitched in with your likes, comments, and subscriptions, and those who have chosen to give financially to support what we're doing here. On the card momentarily, you will see other supporters. Thank you very much to all of those who have financially supported the channel. We've also got some Star Trek Fleet Command and other gaming content videos, so stick around for those as well. Choose to live, my friends. Live long and prosper, and we'll catch you again soon.